Begin the current Daf Masechta Shabbos Daf Samach Beis. Begin 12 lines down at the top of the oven, where we begin the next Mishnah. Again, continuing the theme of this parak B'Ma'isha, which discusses the laws about, as it relates to Haitzah, the malacha of a woman regarding the adornments that she wears. Ashir is co-sponsored by Kalzach and Cheskel, Torah Anytime, Daf Chaim, and the Zoom Oilam joining us. So some of the topics we can discuss today are the items which are asim midiraisa for a woman to wear outside. So although it seems eerily similar to this Mishnah, to the opening Mishnah of this parak, but me'isha yaitza, me'isha in the yaitza, that was rabbinically. Those are things that are really tachshit and they're really biblically permitted, and rabbinically forbidden because we're scared she's going to take it off and carry it out. These things are considered masa. They're biblically prohibited for a woman to wear outside. She michay b'chatas. Additionally, some of the terms we can discuss is mitzvah cessations mangarama, which is the concept that if something is a time-bound mitzvah, it has specific times when it's supposed to be fulfilled, that a woman is pater from. Additionally, if Laila v'Shabbos are zman tefillin, if nighttime and Shabbos are time for tefillin, that relates to the discussion if it's a mitzvah sasei shaloy hazman garama, and wait a second. I'm not sure if this is together or not. Anyway, so this is some of the ideas we're going to speak about is that regarding nighttime and Shabbos, mitzvah say shalei is garama, and if women are going to be obligated. Additionally, we can discuss regarding the concept known as noshim amba fnei atzman, that what's necessarily considered viable for a man is not necessarily for women, and for women not necessarily for a man. That we cannot learn out one from the other. If it's a garment for a woman, not necessarily be one for the other. Additionally, the term of what's called kalach yad, where something would be biblically forbidden to carry, but if it's done kalach yad, what's called in the back of the hand, what's called backhanded, indirect way, that would only be rabbinically forbidden. And then we can discuss in Amid Beis a lot of Agadata relating to the Churban Beis Hamikdash regarding the sins and the punishments of the Jewish people at the Churban Beis Hamikdash. So we begin the current Daf, 12 lines down at the top of the Amid. We begin the halacha, the Mishnah, as we said. Here we're discussing that which is biblically prohibited for a woman to go out with on Shabbos. So it says the Mishnah, a woman should not go out with a needle that has an eye in the needle that has that hole, and not with a ring that has a signet, which we had mentioned these two items in that previous Mishnah when we spoke about women, but that was talking about without an eye and without a signet. That was rabbinically forbidden. These cases are not considered taksha. They're actually biblically prohibited for a woman to go out because it's considered as a masa. So this is the Mishnah, and we'll explain these items in the Gemara. V'loy b'kulyer, which is a brooch, and v'loy b'kavelis, and now with a spice bundle. V'loy b'tzleicha shel payotna, and now with a flask of, like Rashi says, balsam, which is some type of oil of a farsaman. Now, regarding these items, as we said, v'm yotzav, she goes out with chayev chata, she's actually chayev chata, is biblically prohibited. That's divrei meir. Because Meir holds that it's not a taksha, it's not considered an ornament, it's not considered an adornment, and therefore it's just carrying a load. But the Chacham say no, she's exempt, which means to say that they hold rabbinically should not go out with it. But you're exempt by kavelis, which is a spice bundle, and by the flask of the balsam, because they hold that it is a taksha, it is an ornament for the woman, and rabbinically it's forbidden because we're scared she might come to carry it. But again, biblically she's going to be exempt. Now, says the Gemara as follows. Amar he says he's going on the halacha of the ring. Just to recall, we said in that previous Mishnah regarding the woman, we said the opening Mishnah of this parak said that if she has a ring that doesn't have a signet on it, so we said that really biblically it's permitted because it's a taksha. It's only rabbinically forbidden because the skeisha is going to take it off and come to carry it. In our Mishnah we say a ring that has a signet, we say actually it's biblically prohibited because it's a masa. It's not a beauty for a woman. A woman doesn't wear this, and therefore it's going to be considered as haitzah dairaisa, the bichay b'chatas. So that says ulo v'chilufeihen be'ish, and the opposite is by a man. The way Rashi understands it is that by a man, a ring that has a signet is considered normal for the man. So therefore, if he goes out, really biblically, he's going to be exempt. And it sounds like, which actually Rabbeinu Tam disagrees on Rashi. He says that he's actually even rabbinically allowed to go out with it because it's not normal for a man to show it over and say, "Hey, you want to see that nice signet ring I got?" It's a woman thing. A woman would do that. But Rashi sounds like to hold it's exactly the opposite of what a woman is. That just like what's normal for a woman is rabbinically prohibited, and the thing that's not is biblically prohibited, here by a man, says Rashi, that if there's a chaysim, so it's normal for a man, but again, rabbinically it's prohibited. When there's no chaysim, then it's going to be not normal for the man, and therefore that's going to be asim midaraisa and be chayav achachas. Now, one thing says the Gemara, Alma ksava ula. Obviously, ula holds. Kol midi de chazla is whatever is considered fit for a man, lechazlisha, is not considered fit for a woman. Umid de chazlisha, whatever is considered fit for a woman, lechazlisha, not considered fit for a man. In other words, here you have cases like by the woman, where we're saying that okay, the ein ula chaysim is a taksha for the woman. By a man, we're saying ein ula chaysim is asim midaraisa. And so too by the man, what's yeshal chaysim is considered fit for him, and biblically it's not considered carrying. By the woman, we consider asim midaraisa. So we don't say that because of the man, it's a considered garment, which again rabbinically is prohibited, but it's considered a permitted garment, that the same thing would apply for a woman, and so to reverse. And we see the genders that are considered totally independent. On that must Rabbi Yosef asks, Harayim Yitzim Misakin, there's halacha that the shepherd could go out, they could cover themselves in the winter months with sakin, which are some type of garments made out of sackcloth. Now, says the Brisa, they didn't say this halacha only by shepherds. Elakol Adam, every single person could go out with a sackcloth. It's not considered carrying. Ella, Shadar Kuchalaroim, let's just just the norm. Who usually wears sackcloth are the shepherds. But one thing you see from this Brisa says Rabbi Yosef, is that even though it's not normal for a regular person to wear the sackcloth, but since for shepherds it's considered a taksha, it's considered normal for them to wear it to protect themselves from the element. So for every person we consider it. So why is there any difference a man and a woman? If a woman would usually wear this ring, so why do we say, since there are people like women who wear it, 50% of the population, so then the other 50% should also be considered. Just like you say for shepherds, they're 10% of the population, and they're the ones who usually wear it. You say the 90%, it's okay, it's a taksha, people wear this. Okay, usually shepherds, but everyone could wear it. So why is it any different than men and women regarding their garments? Se'ela, Rav Yosef says, which is a classic phraseology that people use, they use it in different contexts, but Ksava Ula holds, Noshim am b'fnei atzmahen. Women are their own people, which usually is used colloquially in the sense of like, you can't understand them, they're very different. I do a lot of work with couples in that sense where this is how women are, just get used to it. They're different. But in the halachic sense, what it means to say is that in contrast to shepherds who are men, and therefore they wear the garment, so they might be a small percent of the population, but it's a garment that people wear, women and men, the genders, you can't compare them at all. And the fact that a woman does something has no relation at all to a man, and a man to a woman, and therefore, yes, if for a man it's considered necessarily fit, it does not mean for a woman, and for a woman it's fit, and not necessarily to man, and therefore the signet rings and the non-signet rings are totally independent in their halachas. However, Abai asks from the following brisa. The brisa says, Hamaitzi tefillin. If someone carries out tefillin on Shabbos to the marketplace, on the road, Hamaitzi, if he finds tefillin, not Hamaitzi, but Hamaitze. If someone finds tefillin, so it's just laying over there, it's disgraceful. So what should he do? So Machnisin, he should bring it into the city by wearing it. Zug, a pair at a time. Meaning, like Rashi explained, like you wear it during the weekday. You put on one on the head, one on the arm. So you bring it in, you find all these tefillin on the floor, maybe some non-Jew stole all these tefillin, whatever it is, you find it there on the floor. So you put on one pair of tefillin, you walk into the city, you take it off, you go back, you wear another pair, you go back, and so on and so forth, till you bring in all the pairs of tefillin. And says the Brisa, so this applies echad ish ve'echad isha, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman. If you find it, you should put it on and bring it into the city that it's not lying there in disgrace. But one thing we see is that even though it's not a takshit for a woman, women don't wear tefillin, but we say migui. We say since it's a takshit for a man, so it's biblically permitted. Okay, rabbinically, we'll see that it's rabbinically prohibited for a man to wear tefillin, but biblically it's permitted, and therefore we say since it's a takshit for a man, it's permitted for a woman. So that's what the Gemara's question is. And if you say women are a totally different gender, you cannot compare men and women at all. So the problem is, so we can't base it on a migui of, since a man, since so to a woman, you have to go on the merit of a woman itself. So the problem is, tefillin is mitzvah seishes magurama. It's a time-bound commandment. For mitzvah seishes magurama, any time-bound commandment, we know nashim b'turas, women are exempt. So if a woman she's exempt, means to say for her it's not a garment that she wears, it's not a tafshid. So how is she allowed to carry? Because for a man it is. Didn't you tell me they're totally independent? Says the Gemara, that's not difficult. Hassan, that Bryce is Kasavi Remeir. It's like Remeir, he holds Laila's man tefillin, who we don't rule like that. We don't put on at nighttime or on Shabbos. But it's a machlekes tanoim in many places in Shabbos. it's going like Rameir, he holds actually nighttime is a time of putting on tefillin. Shabbos man tefillin, no, Shabbos is a time of putting on tefillin. So therefore the time of tefillin is at all times. It doesn't have a set time. And if it says mitzvah, it's not a mitzvah saseish man garama that women would be exempt from. And as Rashi explains, that's why we picked specifically to tell you that even nighttime and Shabbos is because on both those points, as we actually rule like that, it's machlekes tanaim. And if Rameh would have held on any one of these times that it's not a time of tefillin, then it would come out the post facto that it would be a mitzvah sishes magarama and women would be exempt. But no, he holds that you're obligated nighttime and on Shabbos. So how about mitzvah sishes magarama? It's not a time-bound commandment. And if it's not a time-bound commandment, women are obligated, and therefore it's considered a tachshid for women too, because women are obligated in tefillin, again according to that opinion. And therefore, that's why if they find the tefillin just like a man, not because of a migo. Yeah, you don't compare men to women and women to men. It's because women on their own merit have that obligation of tefillin, and therefore it's a taksh for them, and therefore they could go ahead and carry. Now, but the Gemara continues and asks the following question. The Gemara's question is going on the Mishnah. We said regarding carrying a ring that has a signet. We said that for a woman, that's considered a masa. It's not a taksh, it's not an adornment, it's not an ornament for a woman to wear a ring with a signet. It's a man thing. You know, women don't wear it, it's not jewelry. So it's a masa. The problem is, okay, so you're saying that she's liable for her tzad deraisa. She michayv achatas. How is she carrying this ring? She's wearing it on her finger. Now, if you're telling me that it's not jewelry for her, so why are you saying she's chayv achatas? But she's not transporting the way things are normally transported. When you're carrying something, a violation, a Shabbos violation, for something that's not an ornament for you, how are you usually going to carry it? You're usually going to carry it in your hand. That's how people carry things. They're carrying something in the street on Shabbos. You don't carry it wearing it. That's not a normal way. Says the Gemara, but that's considered carrying in an indirect way. You usually carry, when you're violating carrying, you carry it in your hand. If you're wearing it on your finger, that's not the normal way of transporting, because you, woman, you don't usually wear this ring. That's why we're saying that it's not a tachshid. So if it's not normally the thing that you normally wear, so how would you normally transport something that you don't normally wear? You're not going to see Shloimy Schwartzberg wearing a skirt in the street if he's walking out, if he's violating carrying that, it's because he's been holding it. If he's wearing it, that's not a malbush. We're saying it's not a tachshid. So what is it? So you're carrying. But you're carrying in direct way. Carrying in direct way should not be a chayv daraisa. That's only a drabanan. Why are you saying she's mechayv achatas? So Rabbi Yirmiyah says an interesting answer. He says, "Be'isha gizbaras askina." We're talking about a woman. She's a real businesswoman, and what she does is she's constantly sealing certifications to the people that work under her. And she's saying, okay, give this amount of money to that person, give money to that person. There were some women in history, famous personalities, very, very successful businesswomen. Now, she always needed a signet ring in her hand because she had to be sealing things. Now, what's interesting about this answer is that it's normal for that woman to put the ring on her finger. Now, what's interesting is it's not a tachshid for her because it's not normal for a woman. It's not feminine for a woman to have a signet ring. It's a masculine thing. It's not feminine for a woman. Now, but for violating transporting by carrying on the finger, it is normal for her because such a woman that Isha gives birth will put it on her finger. It's not a tachshid. It's not a feminine thing for the woman. But still, the woman will put it on her finger because she's going to hold it the whole day. She has it on her finger and seal. So when she carries, it's not considered kalachiyad. So again, it's an interesting case. It's not going to make it into for her a tachshid because it's not. It's not a feminine thing. It's a masculine thing. But still, for that woman, it's considered normal to go ahead and carry it on her finger, and therefore it's going to be considered issa deraisa of carrying. However, Amar Rabba, and some have the gears or not, Rabba Babachana, Amar B'Yechana, but Rabba says, yes, Teratz the Isha. You explain half of the equation. You explain why by the woman, by the tabas, sheyesh Allah chaysim, why it's going to be considered issa deraisa. But Ish, Ma'iklamema, regarding the man, Ula said, Chilufein be'ish, said the exact opposite is by the man. Now, what that means to say is that a man, we said, is going to be chayv achatas when it's a ring that does not have a signet. The problem is, if a man goes out with a regular ring, he's going out kalachiyad because that's feminine. Men don't wear regular rings when they're wearing it. So, okay, fine, you explain the Isha Gizbaras to explain why she's wearing a signet ring, why that would be considered as a Issa Deraisa. But the man, when he's wearing a feminine ring, when he's wearing that without a signet, why is he chayiv? You're not going to say when he's a woman. You can say a woman being like a man in that sense of being a businesswoman. But when is the man going to be emasculated to be like a woman, to say that, okay, so therefore, he's going to be chayv deraisa, be carrying on his finger. When does he ever do that? Selam Rabbi gives it, which is like the slide over here. Rabbi gives a reinterpretation of both cases. Says, he says, sometimes a man could give to his wife, the man's going to give to his wife his ring, the ring that has the signet. You're right, we're not talking about a businesswoman. He's going to give it to her to put it into the box, to put it away. He's done with the business. He says, honey, please do me a favor, put my ring away into the box. Or as the Girsa of Rabbeinu Chanal, which is brought on the side of the Gemara, the woman will put on her finger, the woman's busy, she's doing 100 different things. She puts it on her finger until she gets to the box, and therefore it's normal for a woman to put the tabash yesh lachaisim on her finger, and therefore it's not considered klachiyat. And so too in the reverse. Sometimes she'ish in the sense labal, the woman will give to her husband tabash she'in lachaisim, her ring that doesn't have a signet. It's a woman l'sakin says, honey, you're going to the store, you're going to the marketplace, do me a favor. You know Moshe the craftsman? Do me a favor, give it to him. There's something wrong with my ring finger, it's too loose, it's going to fall off, I'm afraid. And the manicha b'yada, or again, as Rashi has the girsa, he's going to put it be'etzboy on his finger. It's lumen until he gets to the craftsman. Therefore, it is the normal way for both men and women to wear the rings of the other one, because they ask each other in their way of requesting to get it to a certain destination, to carry it to them. And then normally a ring is a small thing, you don't want to lose it, you'll slip it on your finger, therefore it's not considered klach yad, therefore it would be hitzad darais. Yes, if it's not your takshit, it is a masli, and yet it's still considered the normal way for you to carry it, to be violating the issa darais of hitzad. Now, continuing to halach in the Mishnah, as we mentioned, as we'll explain the Gemara, we said other items that are a chiyav dairaisa, it's not a takshit, considered a masa according to the Tanna Kama, that is remeir, if she carries in Rishus Harab, which are v'loy b'kulyer, v'loy b'kevelis. Says the Gemara, my kulyer. Some Rabbi says it's machpanta. Now the word machpanta is from the word shemachavenes, which means to like close. So what this machpanta is, it's a type of a clasp, which is a brooch, which is that she ties the openings of her blouse with this brooch. So it's like a clasp that closes the garment that she's wearing. So that's not considered as a tachshid according to a mayor, and therefore that's a masa, and therefore it would be considered as chitzad dairais of a woman. Now, what's kaivelis? Amarabi says it's chamarta, it's a pendant, it's a pouch that one ties in it, the piloin. Piloin is a type of a ingredient that's called piloin, which has a good smell, and Rashi says it's balsamoi, which is balsam, which actually would be the opening theme of the Gaddik teachings on Lamed Beis, which basically if a woman has a bad body odor, so she carries that spice bundle on her to take away the odor, which is the forerunner of the perfume, which is if you have a bad body odor, so you want to give off a good smell. That's what this kavelis was. And Mechinim Ravasi says chamar to the feeling. Now, actually interesting, we had a machlekes in their Mishnah, and now Gemara is going to quote a third opinion regarding this machlekes. That is, says the Gemara, turn over Lina Brisa. A woman should not go out with kaivelis, which again is the spice bundle. We said another case in the Mishnah, which was similar, which we're not discussing right now, the flask of balsam oil, which is a similar type of a function. So she should not go out with the kaivelis. Then if she goes out, chayeves chatas the Meir. So Meir holds, as we said in the Mishnah, says if she goes out, she chayeves chatas. And they say, a second opinion, say loy says no, she shouldn't go out, but if she does go out, she's exempt, she's not biblically violated. That was what we have in the Mishnah. Now we see a third opinion. Rabbi Eliezer, he says a woman could even go initially out with it into the street. Says what's this three-way machlekes? So Meir Sabi, he holds masir. It's a load. This is something it's not an ornament for a woman. A woman has a bad body who's going to wear it, but it's not considered takshid for a woman, and therefore it's considered hitzad dairais. Rabban Sabi, they say no, takshidu. No, it is considered adornment. It's like it is something that's like an article of clothing that a woman would wear. So therefore, if she goes out with it, she's going to be exempt. But they say, like, she should not go out with it because she might take it off and might jump to show to her friend, says, oh, this is like the new perfume I got. And in Talmudic times, they didn't necessarily have that spray. She was carrying something on her which was more effusive. And she might come to carry it. So therefore, that's the classic halacha, rabbinically prohibited. For Eliezer Saber, he held like the chacham, that it's not considered a masa, it's a taksha. But why doesn't he hold that it's going to be rabbinically prohibited? Because you might come to take it off and show it to your friends. It says, Man darch lemirmo, what type of woman is going to carry this on her neck? It's Isha Sherecha Ra. It's a woman with a bad body odor. Isha Sherecha Ra, a woman with bad body odor, Lo Yishaf Mechavi. She's not taking her off and showing her off because it's disgraceful for her. She's not going to come to carry down Mishajam. If anything, she's having that necklace like under her blouse, like hiding that no one should see it. And therefore he says that doesn't have the concern of a classic taksha, and therefore it's going to be permitted. Now, the Gemara has a question, which seems to be a contradiction in this opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer just was quoted that Yitzla Ketchila, not only that you're potter, like the Chum, but you could even go out initially. The problem is, by the time you learn the Brisa, Rabbi Eliezer paid to the kevelis. He's quoted in the second Brisa. He says, if a woman goes out with this kevelis, which is this pouch with the balsam oil, if she goes out with it, which is similar, which is a flask of balsam oil, that the woman's going to be potter. Now, potter sounds like the Chachamim, which is, okay, biblically it's okay, but rabbinically prohibited. We just quote him in the Brisa that says you could even go out with that. So it seems to be a contradiction. So it's not difficult. This second Brisa that he's quoted as saying that you're potter, who is he going on? He was going on the first opinion, which is Adri Meir. In that Brisa, the opinion of the Rabbana were not quoted at all. The only opinion quoted was Remeir. Regarding Remeir, who says you're chayiv, it's appropriate to say, oh, no, you're not chayiv, you're going to be potter. Even though, really, Rabbi Eliezer holds not only a potter, it's even much like a tchila. The first Brisa, Kikoi, when did we have Rabbi Eliezer's statement was going ad Rabbanan? Like that Brisa that we quoted had three opinions, and the Rabbanan said that you're only going to be potter. On that, Rabbi Eliezer has to explicitly say, whoa, not like you, Chacham, that you're just going to be potter. You could even initially go out like that, as the Gemara explains. Kikoi Remeir, when he's going on Remeir, when there's only Remeir, Dama, that he says, Chayiv Chatis, Chayiv Chatas, so Amalei, he responds, says, no, you're not Chayiv Chatas, you're going to be potter. Although he really holds more than that. It's not only that you're potter, you're much like a tchila. But Kikad Rabban, he's going into Rabban, and that they say potter abal aser, which was the first price. They say, oh, you're potter, but it's prohibited. Amar Iva, that's what he says. No, mutlak tchila, it's even initially permitted to be done, because when you come into disagree with someone, you might be even more, but you're first disputing his point. He says chayiv, no, you're not chayiv, you're potter. I hold even mutlak tchila, but I'm first disputing your point. So therefore, that's why over there he only says potter. On that, the Gemara continues on the base and says, wait a second, Meir. What's this brisa that you find that there's only Remeir's opinion with Ad Rabbanan, that you're saying Rabbi Eliezer is coming to disagree, and therefore he says Pater, and he doesn't say even Mutlak B'Tchila because he's not coming to dispute the opinion of Rabbanan. The Tanya, it's the following brisa. The brisa says, Isha, a woman should not go out to the street with a key in her hand. That's considered carrying. If she goes out like that, that's the Remeir. Rabbi Eliezer Pater, Rabbi Eliezer says, and this is that brisa that we quoted, and we just quoted the first half that we see it's just Remeir, no Rabban over there. Rabbi Eliezer Pater says you're exempt b'kovelas u'b'tzleicha shabayad. She goes out with this flask of balsam and this pouch with the balsam, then she's being exempt. Says the Gemara, wait a second, how did that come in? Kovelas mandikar shemei. Who mentioned anything about the kovelas? Remeir was talking about carrying a key. And Rabbi Eliezer says, oh, I disagree, you're exempt by kovelas u'tzleicha shabayad. Remeir wasn't talking about that. So there are words missing, then this is the way you're supposed to say. Remeir was saying, not only for a key, but v'chein b'kevelas, also for this pouch, v'chein mitzleicha shabayad, also the flask of balsam. That law say a woman should not go out with. If she goes out with it, chayev eschatz michai b'chatas after Remeir, because he holds biblically it's prohibited. Rabbi Eliezer played to b'kevelas of mitzleicha shabayad, and he disagrees on the cases of the kevelas and mitzleicha shabayad, like we explained that he holds you're going to be potter, and as we said, not only going to be potter, but it's even going to be even mutal l'katchila. It's just he's saying potter because he's disagreeing with Remeir. Now the brisa continues, once we're introducing the brisa. So the brisa says, Bamed v'mamum, when did we say this opinion of Eliezer? That you're going to be potter, and again, like we said, potter means even mutal l'katchila, is that for these pouches that have the balsam, is kishiyesh b'hem baisa. That in that pouch, in the chumrasa, there is the palyot, there is the balsam, which it's made like some type of an amulet that inside there is these spices. So since inside there's these spices, so it's considered, according to Rabbi Eliezer, as a tachshit for this woman that has a bad body odor, and therefore it's mutter midareis. And we're also not even rabbinically prohibited because she might come to show it off, like we said, because it's disgraceful for her, she's not going to come to show it off. But that's only if there's some spice inside. If there's no spice inside, there's only the pouch itself, then it's not an ornament because it's not giving her a good body odor. And therefore chayev, she's michayev for carrying the pouch itself. That's what the brisa says. So interestingly, the Gemara makes the following teak. Amr of Adrab, it says, Zaisa Meres, this tells us, this is the brisa says, that if there's no spices inside, she's mechayiv for carrying the pouch. Obviously, we see that Rabbi Eliezer holds, Hamoitzi Eichlin, if someone transports on Shabbos food items, Pachis Mikashir, As we'll learn later on in the Masechta on the Vayin Vam and Beis, that there's a certain minimum measurement to be chayiv for different types of foods. So let's say a woman carries out the food items less than the measurement of being liable. Like for food items, generally you have to be the share of a gregris, of dried figs. If you take out less than that amount, you're not going to be chayiv for the food items. But if she takes it up a kli in a vessel, then obviously Rabbi Eliezer holds chayiv that although you're not chayiv for the food items, because that's less than the measurement, but you'd be liable for transporting the vessel. And meaning what? We don't say that the vessel is secondary to the food items, and therefore you're not going to be chayiv either on the vessel either, because your intention was only to take it out because of the food items. And the food items have less than the share, and therefore the vessel also. We see obviously that he holds that no, that you will be chayiv on the vessel, which that's important because that's disputing an anonymous Mishnah later on, Daf Tzadi Gimel Beis, that says actually you're patur even for the vessel. Which, I mean, that's a regular vessel, it doesn't make a difference. The vessel is not considered the primary thing you're taking out. It's secondary to what's inside of it. And if in what's inside of it, which is the food item, is less than the shiur, you can be patur, you actually patur on the vessel too. That's what we'll see later on in the Mishnah of Tzadi Gimel Beis. We see that Rabbi Eliezer disagrees with that Mishnah. Where do we see that? Because what's his words that he says? He says, if aim ba baisam, he says, if there's no spices inside, then you'll be chayiv for carrying that pouch. If there's no spices inside, although he says generally you could go out with it, if there's no spices, you're going to be chayiv. Now, that is kapachas mikashir b'kli damim. If you think about it, that's just like the halacha of when you have less than the measurement of the food item in the vessel. Because what happens is that pouch absorbs some of the aroma of the spices. Now, the truth is, what's the shiur of considering carrying out bisamim? Actually, the Gemara tells us later on the Tzaddik Malach is even a minute amount. A food item is not significant unless you have a certain amount. It's not significant. It's a joke. But for smell even a small little thing. You see people buy bisamim on Havdalah. One little thing is sufficient. So the shiur of Eitzah bisamim is even a small amount. Now, if you're telling me it's not even the measurement of what's considered for fragrance, that's what you can be chayiv, that must mean just the smell. That's essentially pachas mikashir. V'ketani chayeves, and we see Rabbi Eliezer holds that then you're going to be chayiv on the pouch. And what do you mean? We don't say that the vessel becomes secondary to the aroma that's inside the pouch itself. And even though you're not chayiv for the aroma, because that is quote pachas mikashir, it doesn't even have that one clove, it doesn't have anything, it's nothing. That's the pachas mikashir, and still you see he holds you can be chayiv on the pouch. That's the halacha of pachas mikashir in the kli that the Mishnah later on says you're going to be patur on the kli. Rabbi Eliezer obviously disagrees because the reicha, the aroma that absorbs into that, which actually important halacha on bisamim, that you can't take the vessel that has no spice inside, even though it has the smell, has to have something. Here we see that when there's pachas mikashir, even though there's a smell in this pouch, that still you're going to be chayiv on the pouch. So obviously he disagrees with that Mishnah. But Rav Asher, he disagrees. He says no. Truthfully, in general, I would tell you that actually patur. That actually, Rabbi Eliezer agrees to that Stam Mishnah, that when you have pachas mikashir, not only are you exempt on the food item, because it's less than the shir, you're actually going to be patur even on the vessel. But for Shani Hacha, here it's different. Here you cannot say, as the Gemara was assuming in the first approach, that the vessel becomes secondary to the aroma, because the lesla mamasha klal. Come on, there's no substance at all over here. As Rashi explained, you can't call it pachas mikashir. It's not less than the shir, as if you have something but less than the shir. There's nothing even here at all. No, in general, if you have something less than the shir, by something that has substance, so that's, yes, the vessel becomes secondary to the food item, and it would be patur just like the food item. But here there's no pachas mikashir, there's nothing here, it's just smell. And therefore, yes, you can be chayiv on the pouch because you're just taking out a pouch. Not taking out a pouch with pachas mikashir of reicha, because if you even have one iota of spice, we said that's considered regular transportation, which you're allowed to do even like a chila. You're saying, but if there's no spices at all, then you're chayiv. Now that's not pachas mikashir. That's nothing over there. There's no substance at all, and therefore it's not necessarily that he disagrees with that Mishnah. Could be generally he would hold that you're patur, and therefore here it's different because there's no substance that you're going to be chayiv. Now, in a related discussion, this is where we begin the Agadic teachings till the end of the daf, is where we discussed balsam oil, which was this spice that's put into the pouch of the woman, and this flask of the balsam oil. So we continue on a related discussion as it relates to the churban of Yerushalayim. The pasuk says in Amos, "V'reisha shemonim yimshachu," that the best oils they would anoint themselves with. Amar B'Yehuda Mishmoli says, "What is that?" Zeh pal yatim. This is balsam oil, and that was the great oils that they would use. Now, Master Rabbi Yisrael asked from the following brisa. The brisa tells us that Afal Pal Yotin Gaz Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, that also on the balsam oil, Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava had made the gzeira that the Jewish people should not use balsam oil because of Tsar and the Churban. We stopped certain things, music, a lot of things we stopped after the Churban Beis HaMikdash. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava made a gzeira that the Jewish people should not use balsam on them all. But the sages did not agree to him. On that, as the Gemara, but if you say in the interpretation of the choicest oils that the Jewish people would anoint themselves with was Pal Yotin, now that pasuk that we quoted in the Amos is Mishum Tainik. It's talking about because of pleasure, meaning those people that we quoted in the pasuk that they would anoint themselves with this oil, they paid no heed to the words of the prophets, and the prophets were prophesying about all the punishment. And guess what? The Jewish people didn't care. They were delighting themselves with all types of pleasures. And one of them is what the pasuk says, and in all the finest oils you anointed yourself, and you didn't listen to the prophets that said you got to repent. No, you didn't care. So the question is, if you tell me that's balsam oil, why didn't the sages agree to Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava? We did take away the big pleasures in the world, the music and the certain types of ornaments and having your house perfect. We took it all the way after the Churban Beis HaMikdash. Why wouldn't the sage agree that that should be an appropriate gezerah to make after the Churban Beis HaMikdash? So Abaye said to him, he says, wait a second. Otamech, Rabbi Yosef, according to your reasoning, then Hadach said this that it says over there in the pasuk, in that same topic, it says Hashesim b'mizrikei yain, that they drink with the bowls of wine. Now, what does that actually mean? So it's a machlekes Rav Ami Ravasi. Chanam one says it's kanishkanin, the kanishkanin, which is it's a glass vessel. It's very long, and it has these two spouts, and wine is poured from one to the other, which wondering if this is exactly the picture how it is, but that's a certain wine vessel that they would use to drink. Chanam one says it's not a type of a vessel. It's actually shemizarkin kaisesein zelazet. They would actually throw their cups, their goblets, one to the other. It was like type of a skill that you could throw your glass one to the other. Then it's called mizrika yain. They would throw the glass. Like you sometimes find there's a cocktail type. My sister once bought me this type of glasses that, you only have a stick, like the way this thing is, it has no bottom. It's like a cocktail. So they would throw it and they would carry, that's what's called mizrika, because there would be mizrik. Or again, kanishkikin is this type of a vessel that has two different spouts, and the wine basically gets thrown from one to the other simply because of its shape. So are you going to tell me that it should be forbidden to drink today's times with this kanishkanin? But for Rabbi Baravuna, he went to the house of Eshkalusa, he drank from this glass vessel. Almost maybe it's in like the shape of a hookah or whatever it is. It's like it has this like shape, and like the wine gets thrown from one because it has these two openings, and they didn't tell him anything. So Ella rather komidi di isbe tiny vispe simcha. So he says no. What did the Rabbanim make a gezerah from? Is only that which has pleasure and gives joy. That's what goes to Rabbanim. Al-midi di isbe tiny, but something just has pleasure, but let's be simcha doesn't have joy. Like us Rabbanim did not make the gezerah, and therefore yes. This kanishkanin, if this is exactly the picture that it is, and the balsam oil, although it gives pleasure, it's only tainig. What did they make a gzeira? Only if it has tainig and simcha, that's what they made the gzeira, and therefore it's not difficult to say that pasuk of Aresha Shemon and Mim Shachu was talking about balsam oil, and they still didn't agree to make the gzeira in it because it's only tainig. We continue, the psukim over there says, Hasheichvim al mitei shem. Again, it's talking about the disgraceful behavior of the Jews at that time, and therefore that was a precursor to the Churban. That they sleep on beds of ivory, and they are stretched out, that's a simple translation, on their couches. On that, I'm Rabbi Chanina, what is this? I mean, obviously something more than just laying on beds. That wouldn't be such a bad behavior. This comes to teach that they actually urinated, and that's being inferred from the word masrichim, that although sruchim means stretched out, also the word masriach means foul, which is the bad odor of the urine. They urinated b'fnei mitaysehem, in front of their beds, as I said, al mita yishen, arumim, naked. So because they urinated right there in front of their bed, that's why that was the bad behavior. However, Makadav Bar he scoffed at that. He says, if that's the case, that's what it means. That's what it says there in the pasuk. Now they're going to go out and head of all the exiles. He says, I don't get it. Because they urinated naked in front of their bed, Okay, it's not a great behavior, but Yiglu Barish Kam, that's going to cause them to go out and they head of all the exiles, like the worst behaviors. How could that be the behavior that's going to be so bad that's going to cause the worst for the exiles? So Elam Ravo gives a different interpretation. He says, Ilu B'nei Adam, these are people, they ate and they drank one with the other, and they attached their beds one to the other, and they had the couples out together, and they were swapping the wives. And now you can understand why this is such a bad behavior. And what is the pasuk coming to say when it says the word mites on their beds and sruchim? It means umasrichen arsaisim, and they made their beds foul with semen that was not their own. I mean to say, because of illicit relations that they were having with other people's wives. That is deserving of exile, which the pasuk said l'chenat yiglu b'reish kayim. Now, actually related to this idea that we mentioned, which Rabbi Vo says, look, urinating naked in front of your bed is not going to make you go in the b'reish kayim. But Rabbi Vo does quote, and some say it's a brisa, that it is a bad behavior and it does cause something negative. There's three things that bring a person to poverty. And they are, the first thing is, like we mentioned before, if someone urinates in front of his bed, whereas the Gemara says in Avri Pesachim and of Kufiyat Avim Abeis, that what's called the angel of poverty, his name is called Novel. Novel is like disgrace. And Novel, he loves a disgusting place. Now, if someone urinates in front of his bed, it's disgusting. And therefore, the angel of poverty comes and you're inviting him into your home and he's going to make you very poor. Now, if someone does that, Arim, naked, Rashi points out that it's only secondary, meaning it's only because the person is not dressed, so he's not going to go out to urinate because he has to get all dressed and go out. So therefore, he's just going to be lazy, he's going to urinate there in front of his bed. That's why I mentioned it's not really about the naked part, just because if he's not dressed, so therefore he's just going to urinate here, we'll clean up later. But if someone urinates in front of his bed, that's something that brings poverty. Additionally, someone is disgraceful with the halachas and he doesn't treat properly the halacha of netilas yadayim, that brings to poverty. And if his wife curses him to his face, that's a person that caused him to become poor. Now the Gemara goes through and explains all these three halachas in detail. We said if someone urinates naked, undressed in front of his bed, it causes poverty. Some Rabbi qualifies, says, Loyman, we didn't say this is a problem, only if he's facing towards the bed when he urinates. But if he's facing away from the bed, then less lamba, then we're not concerned. The reason for that is because the flow of the urine, it goes to a distance. And therefore it's not really right in front of his bed, because since he's urinating the other way, so the stream is going to go further away, and therefore that's not bad. Additionally, even if he's facing towards the bed that we said it's a problem, we didn't say it's a problem if he's urinating on the ground. But let's say he has a urinal there, he has a pot or whatever it is, then less lamba, then we're not concerned. So again, the problem of urinating in front of the bed is only if it's onto the ground and only while facing his bed. The second halach we said was a mezalzim until zidam, if he's disgracing the mitzvah of washing his hands. So Amar Rabbi says, Loma, we didn't say this, that it's a problem, that it causes poverty. Only if he's someone that doesn't wash his hands at all. But if he washes and doesn't wash, meaning he doesn't wash it and scrub it so good, he just puts in a little amount of water, meaning he puts exactly a revius, so then less lamba, then we're not concerned. That's okay, that's not going to cause poverty. Which the Gemara says, V'lav milsi, and it's not the way like that. Rav Chizra says, and this is actually the halacha, Anam Ashai, he says, I would wash my hands, Maloi chafni maya, a full washing, a full handful of water. And therefore, from heaven, they gave me a handfuls of hashpas taivas, which a person should try to use in abundance of water when he's washing his hands. If not, yes, actually that could cause aniyas, even if he's washing, but he's not washing with as much as he could. The third one was if his wife curses him to his face, sounds like maybe let her do it to someone else, but if she curses him to his face, that causes poverty. Adam Rabbi says it's al iski tachshita. It's only regarding her jewelry that he doesn't want to buy for her, and she's saying, why? You didn't get me that eternity band, you didn't get me whatever, this and that. So then that causes poverty. Now, says the Gemara, very interesting, very important point. When did we say this? Who did Islay? If he has the means, they didn't do it. Don't go into bankruptcy because she's cursing you, saying, "Oh, wait a second, it's going to cause poverty." No, it's only if you have the ability, you don't, and then she's cursing, that would cause poverty. Now, continuing on the rebuke of the Jewish people, what the Jewish people had done, inappropriate behaviors of the women, especially regarding the laws of immodesty. So Darish Rava Bered Rabbi Loi says, "So what's the pasuk in Yeshaya that says V'yoyma Hashem"? Hashem says, "Yan." It's because Kigabu b'nai Tzion, because the daughters of Tzion, they acted haughty. Well, what does that mean? It means It means that they walked with an erect posture, which that's what the word gavu means, standing up tall, an erect posture. That's not considered modest for a Jewish woman to walk like that. When the pasuk says "V'tilachna the 2 years garin," that they went with their necks stretched out, what does that mean? It means to say, when they would walk with the heel on the big toe and the big toe on the heel. It means to say exactly like a foot length as they walked. Now, why would they do that? Because they wanted to walk slow. So, and there's actually two good stories in Rashi, either because the men looked at them or because they wanted the men to look at them. So she was walking slow and the men are looking. And why? What does that do with outstretched neck? Is because generally, if you have your stretched, you could try this, walk with, not try this, not supposed to walk like that, but with an outstretched neck, then you have to walk slowly because you can't see where your feet. You don't know where you're walking, so you have to walk very slow. So when it means that they walk with outstretched necks, it means they walk very slow so that the men could see exactly as they're walking, which is considered inappropriate. And it says, with gazing eyes, how is that a qualification of the woman? It's tahavamolian kuchlo le'inayu. They would fill their eyes with this makeup. Now, that's actually in the word mesakres. A sikra is a type of a makeup. So mesakres inayim is actually, in their eyes was this makeup. They would fill it in their eyes. Umeramzin. So she would have this, whatever type of makeup on her eyelash or whatever it is. And she would then hint to the boys as she's walking by, which actually the word mesakres not only means sikra for makeup, but the word sikr also means to look. Mesakres also means to gaze. So she would walk and she had this makeup in her eyes and she would wink at the boys as she's walking by. Again, an inappropriate behavior. It says halach v'tafaf. She was walking and floating. Well, what does that mean? Shoymahalchis, the girls, the way they would walk, the women, was arucha b'tzad kitzar. It was a tall woman next to a short woman. Now, so it looks like she's floating on top of her friend, and it makes her look beautiful. A tall woman wants to walk next to a small woman, it makes her look beautiful. And as Rashi points out, these women were married women. So therefore, that's talking about their disgrace. A girl, it sounds like from Rashi that, no, we can verstehen that, so whatever, it's not as bad. A married woman, what is she doing? Trying to get this attention from the boys and that are out there, that's considered a very disgraceful type of behavior. Then it says, Uvraglein ta'achasna, that with their feet, they would spew venom, which ta'achasna is the venom of a snake. And why is it called achas? Is because the snake generally only spews it when he's ka'as. So it's the same letters, ayin chaf samach, chaf ayin samach, is when he gets angry, then he spews the venom. It says with their feet they spewed venom. What does that mean? So Rabbi Yitzchak, the Be'er Rami from the Yeshiva Rabami, he said Malama comes to teach shematilos mar va'afarsim b'minalein. Interesting. What they used to do, they would put myrrh, spice, and balsam in their shoes. Mahalchas b'shuk Yerushalayim. They would walk in the marketplace of Yerushalayim. V'kimin shemagis itzla b'chur yisrael. When they would reach by the boys, the bachrim of the Jewish people, so boitis b'karka. What the woman would do, she would kick into the ground, umatizes alein, and the perfume would spray on the boys. Umachnises ben yetzahara, and it inserted into the boys an evil inclination, ke'eris b'chaz, like the venom in an angry snake. That's how it just entered the boys. They got this, ooh, wow, you smell that? And that aroused in them the evil inclination. Again, a highly inappropriate behavior. So those were some of the inappropriate behaviors of the women. Says about my the same. So what was the punishments that these women got? Says Kedutarish Rabbi Bar Ula expounded. The pasuk says over there later on, that it's going to be that in place of their fragrant spices, makiyah, there's going to be decay. Wait, what does that mean? Makim shoy misbas by the places where they would use the fragrant spices, nasan nemakim became like that their flesh decayed over there. So wherever they put on the spices, that's the part of their body that decayed. And the pasuk says over there, "V'tachas chagura," instead of a belt, was nakfa, was bruising. What that means to say is makom shei chaguris betzilzil, where they used to go ahead and girdle themselves with a, like Rashi says, a beautiful bendel, which is a beautiful belt. Nasa nekafim. That's where they had bruises. If they wore the belt around the waist, whatever it is, that's where they had bruises. B'sachas ma'isa miksha. In place of carved items, is karcha, is boldness. What that means to say is makom shoyu miskashtes by, which is the place where they would adorn themselves, like they're here, where they would comb it and they would braid it. Now, what do you see from miksha, miskashtes, is because miskashtes, the mem sav kav shin, is similar to the word miksha, so it's like a netrikan type of a thing, where it's referring to an acronym of where they would adorn themselves, which they're here. Nasa krachim got a whole bunch of these bald spots, where she used to have beautiful hair and she would braid it and comb it and all that bounce and body now is balding and coming. That was the punishment. Besachas pesigil, in place of the sash, was machgur sak, is going to be a belt of sackcloth. So the Gemara explains what that means to say is pesigil is also like a netrikin. It's a breakup of two words. Pesachim hamavim ledegila, the openings that bring to joy, which is the pesigil is pesach, is the word pesach, and gimel yud lamed is the word of joy, meaning oisemakim, the genital area of the woman, which is an opening that brings to joy. You lemachkei resak will be for girding of sackcloth, which means say that's a place where they're going to have some type of an operation or whatever it is. It's going to be something that's going to be girding of sackcloth. It's not going to be a place of joy anymore. And as the pasuk says over there, kitachas yaifi, because in place of all the beauty, as the pasuk says over there, all this bad is going to come to you. In place of all the beauty that you had up until now, all this bad is going to come. Which Amar Rabbi says, this is what people say. Chalufi shufra, in place of all the beauty, is kiva, is all these sores that the woman gets on her body. And that was the punishment. Now moreover, the pasuk says over there, V'sipach Hashem will afflict kod b'nai Tzion, the heads of the daughters of Tzion. So this is malamet shapach ben tzaras. This also tells us that they got leprosy. Why? How do we know that? It says over here, V'sipach, where we said before with a samach, here with a sin, but that's the word sipach. It says over there in Parsha Vayikra, by the Parsha of Tzaras, one of the two types of tzaras is l'seish v'l'sapachas. So sipach can mean tzaras, and the women also got tzaras. Additionally, other punishments that they got, it says in the pasuk of Hashem, pasen, which is from the word of like pischehen, that their openings, he will pour out. So there's two interpretations how to translate this pasuk. Rabbi Shmuel Chadama one says, it means shenishpachu, that the woman poured out blood of a ziva discharge, of blood, kikitin like a flask. She was just pouring out blood. The Chadam, the other one says, shenasu pischehen kiyar, that their opening, meaning the genital area, which is Hashem pasen, their opening, Yo'ar is from the word of yar, they became like a forest, which means they had so much hair, pubic hair, it became disgusting for relations because of all the pubic hair. Again, that was part of the punishments that the woman had. You're so into the physical and the mundane in such an illicit way, and that's the midah connected midah, that all the things that they used for inappropriate things, those are the punishments that they got. Now, that's regarding the women. Now, on that, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav, now he goes to the men. The men were also inappropriate. He says, Anchi Yerushalayim, the men of Yerushalayim, Anchi Shachatzayu. They were men of disgrace, in the sense of that they spoke very haughty and disgusting and perverted ways. How so? A man would tell his friend, he says, with what did you dine tonight? What was the meal that you ate? Which was a euphemism for tashmish, for relations. Bepasamela, was it with kneaded dough, which means to say that it was already worked through, means to say that the woman was not a virgin anymore? Or was it dough that was bread that was not worked through? It was just fresh dough, which means to say referring to a basula regarding a virgin. B'yayin gudali, did you have white wine? Or as we continue to talk about samach gimel manav, b'yayin chardali, with dark wine? In other words, did the woman have a light complexion, a dark complexion? B'mesev, did you recline on a mesev, which was a bed that mesev that they would recline on when they would eat? As we know, Talmudic times they would recline in biblical times on couches, but it's all a euphemism regarding niyuf, regarding adultery. Was the couch that you laid on when you were eating the meal rachav? Was it wide, meaning was the woman a large woman? Or the mesev katzer, was it a narrow couch? Was the woman thin? B'chaver tayv, did you dine with a good friend? Which means to say a beautiful and attractive woman. B'chavara, or did you have a bad friend? Meaning was she non-attractive? So again, Rav Chizdi says that B'kulan Liznus, and all these conversations were all about illicit relations. Again, highly inappropriate conversations, which was a precursor to the Churban of Yerushalayim. But the Gemara wants to end on a good note regarding the Milas of Yerushalayim. Amar Rechava, Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Atze Yerushalayim, the wood of Yerushalayim that they used to use for burning firewood, shal kinnaman hayu, was from cinnamon. And when they would go ahead and burn those logs, the aroma would go ahead and waft throughout the whole Eretz Yisrael. But when Yerushalayim was destroyed, as was the topic we're discussing, nignazu, it was hidden away. We don't have any more of this kinnaman that they had. It's only left over that of a barley corn. And where could it be found? In the storehouses of Queen Tzimtzamai, which was her name. That's the only place we could still get it, but it was hidden away from the time of when Yerushalayim was destroyed. And Yeratza and Sheibana Beis HaMikdash, maybe we get the Beis HaMikdash back speedily in our days. Some of these we spoke about in today's Daf, and Shabbos Daf Samach Beis. We went to the new Mishnah. Although we opened up this parak with what could a woman go out and what could she not go out with, our Mishnah was saying what she cannot go out with, but different than that Mishnah. He was talking about biblically, which is that has a chiv of chatas. That's what we're saying is considered as a masr, which are a machar and a kuva, unlike that previous Mishnah, which if there's no eye, it's considered an adornment. If it has an eye, it's not an adornment, that's like work related, that's a masr. And a ring that has a seal, unlike that previous Mishnah when it doesn't have a seal, which that's an adornment, just rabbinically, if it has a seal, a signet, it's not a woman type of thing, it's considered a masik. So what we mentioned, a kuli, which the Gemara explained as a brooch, some type of a clasp, which again, that according to a mayor is considered as haitzah, it's considered as a masik, and kaivelis, which is a kesher shal balsam, like some type of a pouch of balsam, and so tzleicha shal bayatin is also a flask of balsam oil, which according to a mayor is considered as haitzah, as a masik deraisa. Now the sages, they exempted, which means to say that that's min hatayra mutter, that they said by kevelis and by tzlach shabayad, which both are different types of pouches and containers of balsam oil, that actually going to be pater, it actually is considered as a takshid, but again we'll consider a shemakim to carry it. And we made this star over here because there is a third opinion that we're going to quote in the Gemara. Now the Gemara said, quoted from Ula, teaching that the exact opposite that it applies by a ring, by a woman, exact opposite is by a man. Now, which means to say that by the man, again, according to Rashi's opinion, that he's going to be chayav achatas when there's no chaysim, and it's going to be rabbinically prohibited when there is a chaysim. And the Gemara pointed out that nashim ambafnei atzma, which although by the women it is considered takshid, you don't say it is by man, and so too in the reverse. In contrast, by the shepherds with their sackcloth, that we say the same thing as by all other men because we do compare men, but women and men we don't. Then we said, so why is it permitted for a woman when she finds the tefillin to carry it on Shabbos? For her, it's not a tafshit. No, it's going like the Tanam that holds that it's not Zman Gurama, because Shabbos and nighttime you are chayiv. So women then would be chayiv in tefillin, and therefore she would be potter because for a woman it would be considered a tafshit. But then the Gemara went back to ask on the halach of the Mishnah. Why is a woman chayiv achatas when she carries a tabas that has a chaysim? But how is she carrying it? It's on her finger. And on her finger, since it's not a ring that she normally wears, so for her that's considered carrying in a kalach yad, because it's not normal for a woman to wear that. Just like for a man to carry some type of a feminine product, it's not normal, and therefore even if he did, and it would be hitzah, it would be kalach yad, and therefore he'd be chayiv only midrabanan. So why you chayiv achatas? So the Gemara says you cannot say that it's talking about because she's a caretaker, because yes, that would answer the woman, but what would you do with the halach of the man? When there's no chaysim, why would he be chayiv achatas? So rather the Gemara answered that sometimes, and therefore it's normal on some level, a man will give his wife a ring to put into the box, and sometimes the woman will give to her husband to give it to the craftsman. And therefore, on some level, it is considered the derech to put it on their fingers when they're transporting, and therefore it's not considered klachiyah, and therefore you can be chayiv haitzah daraisa. We mentioned in the Mishnah regarding kivelis, which is this pouch, like an amulet type, where you have inside the spice to give a good body odor. So we had the two opinions in the Mishnah, and then we had a third opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. It says actually lekatchila even is going to be permitted. And the Gemara explained the reason for these three different opinions. Remeir holds it's a masik, so therefore you chayiv chatas. Chum say no, it's a tachshit, it's an ornament that a woman would wear. But it's a drabanan because we're concerned that she might come to take it off and show it off like all of a tachshit. Rabbi Eliezer, he says no, it's a tachshit, and who wears it is a woman with a bad body odor, so she is not going to carry it, and therefore it's going to be permitted even like a tchila. Now, where did we find that he says the terminology pater, it's mutter like a tchila? That's only in the Brisa is coming to disagree with Reb Meir. So regarding chayiv, it's appropriate to say pater. Now, but the Rabbi Eliezer qualifies, says, but if there is no baisim in it at all, then she's going to be chayiv. So one approach in the Gemara says, that tells us that he would hold, unlike a Stam Mishnah, that if you take out food items, quote, less than the shiur in a kli, you're going to be chayiv on the kli. Because that's exactly what the aroma of in the packet is. Because the shiur of spices is even a little amount. Pachas mikashir would just be the smell. And you see that he holds you can be chayiv on the kli. So that says the Gemara, no. A second approach is no, it's not true. Here it's different because there's no substance at all. There's no substance. You can't be called pachas mikashir. They'd be chayiv in the kli, but in general, with all pachas mikashir, you'd be pater because the kli could be considered tuffle to that Michael pachas mikashir. Now then, continuing on the balsam, we quote a pasuk in Amos of Bereisha Shemon and Mimshachud, the finest oils. You didn't care about the prophets. They were saying the world's coming to an end, the Yerushalayim is going to be destroyed, and you guys are just doing all your delightful stuff that you're doing, which is balsam. Now, so why did the sages not agree to make it forbidden because of the tsar of the Churban Beis HaMikdash? Because that's only tainig, that's not joy. The only things that they made forbidden were things that give pleasure and give joy. That's what they made forbidden because of the Churban. Therefore, they didn't agree to make that as a gzeir. When we say in the pasuk Strucham al Arsaisim there, when we continue in that discussion, once we introduce that pasuk with the balsam, which talks about Churban Yerushalayim, so it says that they were foul on their beds. What does that mean? Either means they urinated before their beds. Another opinion says no, that wouldn't be Yiglu Bereisha Geilis. Rather means to say that they swapped wives. That is definitely making their beds foul, and therefore that caused the gullus. We said, however, three things do bring to poverty. One of them is urinating in front of his bed, which we said the only reason why he says undress is because he's going to be too lazy to go outside. But again, the qualification is it's only if his face is towards the bed and he's doing it on the ground. The second one was if he's disgraceful until his time. We said you even not only if you do exactly what you have to do more than that. You have to do a bounty full of the washing the hand. And we said if his wife cursed him to his face, which again because of the jewelry he's not getting her, but that's only again like the Gemara says if he has and he's not doing it. Then we ended off with the different inappropriate, illicit types of behaviors of the girls and the boys, which that was the married women, and the men, which they went and acted inappropriately, and therefore the punishment that the women had on their body, and that the destruction of Yerushalayim. But then we ended off with the beautiful kingdom that they had in Yerushalayim, which then was concealed away after the Churban Yerushalayim. Thank you to any time for hosting us.